Hey there, fellow adventurers. Welcome back to Between the Dice. Today, we're diving into one of the most intense moments in any Dungeons and Dragons game, when a character is on the brink of death. We all know the standard death save rules. Roll a d20, 10 or above is a success, 9 or below is a failure. 3 failures mean your character is dead, and 3 successes stabilize them. But what if you want to shake things up? What if you want to add more drama, tension, or creativity to that moment when a character's life hangs in the balance? Well, today I've got some exciting alternative rules for you to consider at your table. First up, let's talk about thematic death saves. Imagine your character isn't just fighting for their life, but also communing with the spirits of their ancestors. Instead of rolling a flat d20, you make a wisdom check against an increasing difficulty set by your DM. Each success represents a step closer to returning to the living, while each failure brings you closer to joining your ancestors. Allow the player to roleplay the actual interaction with their ancestors and allow them a bonus to their roll or advantage depending on how well they roleplayed. It adds a whole new layer of role-playing to those death-defying moments. Next, we have the gritty realism rule. Instead of making death saves, your character takes on a permanent injury, like a scar, a limp, or even a lost limb. Then, you roll a Constitution saving throw. The more injuries you have, the higher the DC becomes each time. I would start at a difficulty of 10 and add 2 for each previously received injury. The Dungeon Master can add a permanent ability or skill modifier based on the injury received, such as a -1 to Charisma for scars, or a minus to disadvantage to sight-based perception checks for loss of an eye. Injuries received should be logical and should actually add to the story and the player's background. Think of literary characters such as Captain Ahab missing his leg or Captain Hook losing a hand. Those injuries then defined aspects of their character. If you pass the Constitution save, you stabilize, but if you fail, well, your character's story might be coming to an end. This system makes combat even more terrifying and adds lasting consequences to your battles. For those who love storytelling, there's narrative death saves. Each time you roll, you describe a memory or a vision from your character's life. Successes bring hopeful or heroic memories, while failures bring darker, more ominous ones. It's a powerful way to weave your character's backstory into the game, making those life or death moments even more meaningful. The mechanics would be to make a normal death save and describe what memory or part of the character's life is being remembered. The Dungeon Master can reward the player with advantage on the roll or even outright success on the roll and stabilization, regardless of the rolled number, based on the role-playing of the player and how powerful the memory is. Or maybe you prefer a more action-packed approach. Enter the heroic last stand. When your character drops to 0 HP, instead of rolling death saves, you get to perform one final, heroic action. Succeed, and you stabilize. Fail, and your character dies, but they go out in a blaze of glory, leaving a lasting impression on the story. Tell the Dungeon Master what your last action will be, and they will decide what role is needed to perform that action. If successful, as mentioned above, the character would stabilize with 1 hit point. Players should not abuse this by picking very easy common actions to perform, and Dungeon Masters may limit this form of death save to during climatic moments in the game. Dungeon Masters are also encouraged to give the player a modifier or advantage to their action the more heroic and difficult it is, considering the character is facing certain death, and even if successful, may soon be at death's door again shortly. This variation is not necessarily to save the player, but to allow the player to play out one last heroic scene in a blaze of glory narrative versus knowing they died because of a bad dice roll. Another way to make a last stand more tension-filled is to add a ticking clock with destiny dice. When a character drops to 0 HP, they roll a d6 or d8. The number they roll is the number of rounds they have before they succumb to their injuries and die. During this time, other players can rush to their aid, or the character can attempt one final act. The clock is ticking, and the pressure is on. For more sadistic dungeon masters, the dice roll can be made by them and hidden from the players, so that the dying character will not know how long they have until they expire. This ramps up the tension and makes every action taken that much more precious. Now, how about striking a soul bargain? When your character is on the brink of death, they encounter a cosmic being, a deity, a devil, or an ancient spirit who offers them a deal. Maybe they have to undertake a future quest, sacrifice an ability score, or make a significant change to their character. Accept the bargain and they stabilize. Refuse and they roll death saves as usual. It's a great way to add narrative depth and future story hooks to your game. For those who love a bit of randomness, try Luck of the Draw. Your DM prepares a deck of cards, each representing a different outcome: stabilization, permanent injury, or even a miraculous recovery. When your character drops to 0 HP, you draw a card to determine their fate. This adds an element of chance and keeps everyone on their toes. The outcomes can be as humorous or dark as you wish, from instant death to reincarnation as a raccoon and everything in between. How about taking your character on an afterlife journey? Instead of rolling death saves, your character's soul embarks on a journey through an afterlife-like realm. The player describes the journey, interacting with spirits, visions, and trials. Success allows them to return to the living. Failure may trap them in the afterlife forever. It's a highly thematic and immersive way to handle the brink of death. This does require more work from the DM, but as may also add to the story being told. The DM could include the other players as NPCs in the afterlife setting, testing the player to see if they are worthy to go on living. This can make an enjoyable night of gaming outside of the main adventure, with many opportunities for role-playing and character development. Next up, we have Karma Points. Throughout your campaign, allow characters to earn Karma Points for heroic deeds, selfless acts, and fulfilling their character's goals. When they drop to 0 HP, they can spend these points to stabilize, avoid death, or even recover with a single hit point. This system rewards role-playing and character development, giving players a chance to fight another day. Some DMs give out coins or tokens to represent inspiration to reward players for good roleplay, and this could be very similar. The karma points, tokens, coins, etc. can be spent as mentioned to stabilize a dying character, but outside of death saves, the DM at their discretion could use these points for other game mechanics as well, such as re-rolls of dice, making a combat hit a critical, avoiding a critical hit, making a saving throw, and more, up to the DM's imagination and tolerance. The points could have to be spent by the end of a gaming session, or the DM may allow then to carry over game to game. Finally, let's talk about the group save. When a character is dying, the whole party can band together to make a group death save. Each player rolls a d20, and the combined total must meet or exceed a threshold set by the DM. If they succeed, the dying character stabilizes. If they fail, the character dies, despite everyone's best efforts. It's a fantastic way to emphasize teamwork and the bond between party members. And there you have it. Several alternative rules for handling dying and death in your D&D games. Whether you're looking for something more thematic, more random, or more narrative-driven, these options can add a fresh twist to your adventures. Which one will you use in your next campaign? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on more D&D content. Until next time, keep rolling those dice.